Yes, so it's been a year since the tragedy in Mount Meron in Israel, where 45 men and boys were killed during the Lag BaOmer celebration in what marked Israel's biggest civilian disaster. Joining us is Rabbi Dov Lipman, founder and CEO of Yad LaOlim, former member of Knesset and a close friend of the families who lost their loved ones. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're in touch with many of those families. Can you tell us how are they dealing with the pain and grief 1 year on?
It's fascinating to see how different families are dealing with the grief differently. Certainly all of them are feeling immense pain as we're approaching, as Lag BaOmer has been approaching, and they're reliving this catastrophe. Some of them have spent the year trying to go around speaking about their son or their brother or their father, trying to inspire people to follow in their footsteps. Others have taken it and said, we just have to make sure that we're living our lives as best as we can, because nothing is a given and anything can happen at any moment. There's been a lot of anger and questioning also in terms of the Israeli government and how it's dealt with the tragedy. So everyone is kind of focusing in different areas. There's no doubt, though, as Lag BaOmer descends upon us right now, the one thing that you see is just the immense pain and the gaping hole that exists in people's lives from a tragedy that really came out of nowhere. And also on a certain level, there's certainly a feeling didn't have to happen.
So can you share with us, Rabbi, a personal story or a memory that they might have told you?
So there's one family in particular who I've had some contact with. It's the family of a young man named Donnie Morris, who was in yeshiva in Israel. And the family has done such a remarkable job in memorializing Donnie and talking about his kindness and his love for spirituality and Judaism and for Israel. They put out an entire book on the weekly Torah portion, where each time a rabbi writes about how we can be kind to one another, the way Donnie was, and just spreading for people how he wanted to take advantage of his life and make his life meaningful. And there have been scholarship funds that have been set up and other things. And this is just one example. We're talking about 45 people who lost their lives, and each family in their own way. Many of these people, let's remember, Lital, these are people who went for a spiritual experience, which means that their inclination was towards the spiritual. And that's something which is, every one of them was involved in a spiritual journey in their lives. So they try to share that message with other people, that live life to the fullest, live life in a meaningful way. And certainly in the case of the Morris family, they've been sharing that in terms of Donnie.
Amazing. So this year, Meron is set to look a little different, with purchasing regulated tickets ahead of time and a time limit on entry. How are these restrictions being received by the religious community?
People should really know, because especially they're going to be seeing video footage of extremists who are trying to break the rules. People should know that the mainstream community, and I'm talking about 95% plus, are adhering to the rules. They recognize the danger. They recognize that the Israeli police with the government are trying to do their best to, on the one hand, enable there to be some level of celebration, while on the other hand, protecting people's lives and making sure we don't have another tragedy. So by and large, people are adhering to the rules. Sadly, as in every group around the world, we have extremists who don't want to keep to the rules, who are fighting with the police, and we need to praise our police force for being there. It's not a simple situation to be in, and hopefully we'll get through Lag BaOmer with this meaningful experience for those who want to have it. Many will be watching online instead of being there. And then hopefully over the next few years, some kind of a mechanism will be worked out to enable that site, which so many view as holy, as important, to be able to have more people, but to do it in a safe manner. There's no doubt that no matter what spirituality people get from that experience, one of the number one mitzvot, commandments in the Bible, is ushmartem et nafshotechem, to protect your lives, to protect health. And this is something which we take very seriously. And it seems like the lessons from last year are being learned by both the government and the authorities, and also by the community.
Yeah, let's hope so. We are seeing reports of fake tickets and, as you said, calls from radicals that they will not follow the rules. Are the authorities prepared for this, and are they going to manage to keep this event safe?
I do think they will. I have to tell you, Last year when this tragedy happened, I found myself at Abu Kabir, the National Morgue, as families were there trying to identify their loved ones. And anyone who sees anything like that, all you want to do is prevent anything like this from happening ever again. There should not be one family in that kind of a situation. And I do hope and I do pray that the police will be able to keep it under control. Sadly, like you mentioned, Lital, there are going to be those extremists, and I do believe there will be some confrontations. But I do think because the leaders of the community, both the political and the rabbinic leaders, have certainly been vocal about the need to learn the lessons from last year and the need to adhere to the rules. And there has been cooperation between the government authorities, the police, and the spiritual leadership. Hopefully all of that will keep things under control and enable there to be a positive experience for those who want to go, a positive experience for those who are watching via the live stream. And certainly we can go from this Lag BaOmer recognizing that we've learned lessons, and we'll try to balance the spiritual component with the component of protecting lives and everyone's health.
In God's will, Rabbi Dov Lipman, thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you so much, Lital.